Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Uh, uh, Hello everyone, welcome today to WTT. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we're going to explore a topic that's part of our daily life. How computer actually work. Before we begin, let me introduce our speaker for today.
Hello everyone. Thank you for the introduction. I'm excited to be here and to share this topic with you.
Great, you here. Without further delay, let's get started.
So let's start with a simple question. What is computer? So computer is a machine that takes input and process it and produce output. For example, when you type something on your keyboard, that's input. The computer process it and then displays the result on your screen. That's output. Now, inside the computer, there are several important components. First, the CPU, the central processing unit. That's for the brain of the computer, the one who handles instructions and calculation. Next, we have RAM. So, RAM you can set as a memory, but it only stores the temporary data. The computer currently is or hard drives. This is where your files and programs
Sorry. Uh, you can more. Uh, your voice is not high. Here, more bigger, more louder.
oh, sorry. Let me start from uh, beginning. Sorry. So, computer is something input, and then it's produced. For example, you type something, and then it outputs a display. So the display is the output, and the keyboard is the input. Now, inside the computer, there are several important components. First is the CPU. CPU is the central processing unit, or we can call it like a brain. So it can handle the computation, the calculation. Next, we have the RAM. The RAM, or the memory, it's the temporary data that the computer currently using. That's why having more RAM can make your computer faster. Then we have storage, like SSDs or hard drive. It stores your program or files permanently. All these components work together incredibly fast to make your computer function smoothly. So I will dive deeper to um, schematic of the example of SPCs called Paksa. So, so in here, oh sorry. So in here, we have so many things to do in here. There's the the main module in here. We use the compute module 3 of the Raxa. It uses the very good ARM chip called RK3566. And this compute module have three connector. As you can see here, it will connect to many things like the USB host, the SATA, or you can charge the battery, the LCD ETP will talk to MIPI and EDP later, HDMI for the screen, and then USB hub. Let's start with the the USB one. So in the USB, usually we have a 4 pin or 4 LAN to commute that usually USB connect. Well, only 2 LAN that for communication. So wait, let me just okay, sorry. Uh, oh, okay, here. So usually USB A use 4 pin. The power have two, the ground one and the normal voltage coming VCC, and also have two-lane communication. It's called T plus and T minus. There are so many type of USB. Uh, we usually use the USB host. So USB host is if you plug something in there, uh, the computer know what is the device. Like for example, you plug it mouse, it will know that the mouse is connected. So in here, there's a USB 3.0 connected to here. As you can see, if USB host not only have T plus or T minus, but also have uh, receive here, receive negative and positive. This is for differential pairing, so it will not disturb the noise. Then also have the transmitter. Then as I said before, the T minus and D plus, and there are several of triangle in here. This is called I think it's called Scotty rectifier diode. What is this for? So it's basically like ESD, electrostatic discharge. So it will won't give you electrostatic. Then I will show like the HDMI. That's the screen output. Why this ARM chip is so good? Because not real good, but it's good for someone who designed his first maybe. So this chip can do HDMI 4K 60 FPS. As you can see here, we have the ESD protection for transmitter and also only a transmitter and I2C communication there. Okay, there's a component that just do has EST protection. So, as you can see, if you don't know VGA yet, so VGA is VGA tell that the sync of the red, green, and blue, so it can tell 16 million colors. Then there are H sync and Y V sync for telling where is the pixel at. But the the HDMI is different. They I think it will send like pixel 1 RGB this number, then just tell to TV like that. Then there's consider for maybe there's voltage down for the copying capacitor. Yeah. Well, usually your laptop doesn't have Ethernet, but I actually doesn't really know how Ethernet works, but basically just like normal Wi-Fi like telling your LAN, MAC, and other things. And it also have ESD protection. Then I show it display. So in the laptop there are display like, but the display is not actually HDMI. They use a different interface. There are two interface for displays. There's the one it's called the EDP, uh, EDP is I forgot. Oh yeah. So it's embedded display port. Sorry, I forgot. Actually, in Raspberry Pi, there's a slot for EDP, or maybe the one who called the what's the name? Uh, maybe LCD. Yeah. So the EDP use this kind of communication. Yeah, there also EST for component. They also use maybe like the same thing. And then there's uh, there's the CSI. It's a CSI. So uh, so CSI is computer sorry, camera interface. So you can connect your camera. The camera there's the type the USB one and the CSI type. Then if the laptop is usually use the CSI. There's usually 15 pin for it, and also support multiple cameras for this chip. Oh, and also for the OCD, also actually also for uh, for this way, but it's different communication. I haven't learned much more about this, but I already try to know know how they work. And then uh, the voltage input. So in in the Discord, we need very many different voltages. But in here, they use a DC 12 volt, and usually RK3566 need about 5 volt inputs. But don't forget to add the what is it? Scotty rectifier diode, so you don't get the electrostatic. Then you also need a decoupling capacitor, so it doesn't get voltage drop. Then we can use something called step down or buck converter. So basically, buck converter takes input. They usually use about more than 5 volt to make it 5 volt. And what about the amps? The amps still same because the the way of buck converter works is that they change the voltage up down until it stabilizes to that voltage. So as you can see in here, that's the VCC 12 volt in in here. Then you use decoupling capacitors to make stabilize. Uh, then I see this chip. I think there's a built-in LDO. So LDO is basically like step down, but the amps is smaller than the input, like really small. If the step down is almost same. So there's usually an what's name the feedback, which is which is the pin that tells to the chip how many fault, like is it success or not. Then we have inductor. They've also used in the they've also used in the oh sorry they've also used the hack sorry step up converter and then step down. It for stores the yeah, basically like capacitor but electromagnetic. Then at the fault here, you may also need to step down again to make it 3 volt, so it can use for many things. And then let's see what we got. Usually, uh, IO board like Raspberry Pi have a GPIO. So in here, you can connect the current GPIO. And I also will explain how compute module works. So at the compute module, there's a chip called RK3566. Well, not all compute module, but in this case. So this chip only support up to 4 gigabyte of RAM. It's small, but yet still powerful. So when you routing the what's the name? The chip, the CPU chip to the DDR chip or the RAM chip, you need to do something called differential pairs. So you need to make the length same as the others. Like before, there's the positive one and the negative one. And then they also need a chip for the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi chip, so it can connect Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth. Okay, and then wait, there's something I forgot to explain the PCIe. So basically, this is the head speed serial connector. Wait, where's this? Oh, I forgot. Say, oh, oh, and here is. So here's the PCIe. So the PCIe is also high speed serial communication. So you need also differential pairs. As you can see here, there's a transmitter and a receiver. I think for the AK is only support X1 maybe. Yes, only X1 LAN. But the version of the PCIe is 2.1, and the communication also is really fast, about 2.5 gigabyte per second. Gigabit, I think. I think gigabit or gigabyte everywhere. Gigabit per second or 5. Then also it's actually used for this one, for this chip, material chip. Then also there's USB OTG. So the USB OTG is different than the others because you can install on OS with OTG with RK DevTools. So you don't need micro SD card if you don't need, but if you need, it's okay. So that's how computers work, and it's really complex than that. Uh, for me, I can only teach a coding. I cannot more complex than that maybe. So basically, that's how computer work. Like the ARM computer.
Thank you for the explanation. Uh, Maybe I just can uh, like quiet because well, we think computer just like this or just like a simple device that we just use,
Yeah,
and exactly is so complex. Uh, Thank you for that clear and easy to understand explanation. Uh, Nerd, to everyone watching, thank you for your attention. If you have any question, feel free to ask. Uh, then all for today, WTT. See you next time. Goodbye, everyone. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.